Identity is the hidden architecture of every choice you make. People often think transformation begins with forcing new routines, grinding harder, or cutting out the old habits through sheer discipline. But if the identity underneath stays the same, the change doesn't last. If you still secretly believe, "I'm someone who always slips back," then no matter how long you hold out, eventually your behavior will catch up to that belief. On the other hand, when you reshape the story of who you are, your actions flow naturally. When you shift from "I'm trying to save money" to "I am a saver," the difference isn't just in words, it's in the way your brain perceives every decision that follows. Think about this. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you believe yourself to be. The problem is, most people are running on autopilot votes for identities they don't even want. When you say "I can't afford that," you're not just talking about the purchase, you're reinforcing an identity of limitation. When you say "I'm just bad with money," you're repeating a story that locks you into fear. These are not neutral sentences. They're declarations about who you are, and your actions align with them. But the flip is possible. If you begin saying, "I am resourceful," "I am someone who always finds a way forward," your brain starts scanning for proof. Suddenly, you notice opportunities you ignored before. Suddenly, you experiment with solutions instead of retreating. Financial fear is one of the most common identities people carry, and it often begins early. Maybe you grew up hearing "money doesn't grow on trees," or watching parents argue about bills, or experiencing scarcity so deeply that it carved grooves into your nervous system. Those grooves create a script. When money feels tight, your body reacts like you're under attack. Heart pounding, shallow breath, narrow vision. The fight or flight system hijacks your ability to think clearly. The script says, "I am powerless, I am at risk, I don't have enough." But here's the truth. Financial fear is not just about numbers, it's about identity. If you see yourself as powerless, every dollar will feel like a reminder of lack. If you see yourself as resourceful, every dollar becomes a seed you can plant. The mental flip is to move from scarcity identity to opportunity identity. Scarcity identity says, "I can't." Opportunity identity asks, "How can I?" Scarcity identity avoids risk. Opportunity identity looks for controlled experiments. Scarcity identity sees money as something that controls you. Opportunity identity sees money as something you direct. You don't need to suddenly have more money in your bank account to start making this shift. You need to start practicing the small statements and small actions that prove to yourself you are already opportunity-driven. One way to practice is through reframing fear as energy. Picture this. You receive an unexpected bill, and your first instinct is panic. Scarcity identity says, "I'll never get ahead." Opportunity identity reframes the same moment. "This is uncomfortable, but it's a challenge I can solve." The fear that made your body tense is the same energy you can channel into problem solving. Fear is adrenaline. Adrenaline can make you panic, or it can make you focus. The identity you hold decides which way that energy flows. To solidify this shift, create rituals that anchor the new identity. For example, each morning you might write a single sentence. "I am someone who creates opportunities." Then follow it with one action, however small, that proves it. Research a new skill for 10 minutes. Reach out to a potential collaborator. Move $10 into a savings account. These micro actions are votes. Each one chisels away at the old identity and strengthens the new one. Another powerful practice is language policing. Pay attention to the words you use when you talk about yourself and money. Catch every "I can't," "I'm bad at," or "I'll never." Replace them instantly with "I'm learning," "I'm improving," or "I'm discovering." At first, this might feel forced, but your brain is listening. Your nervous system takes cues from your words. Over weeks and months, this repetition rewires what you believe. And remember, opportunity magnetism isn't about pretending problems don't exist. It's about facing them with a different identity. Imagine two people with the same financial setback. One says, "This proves I'm doomed." The other says, "This is a challenge that will teach me." The setback is identical. The outcomes diverge completely because of identity. The first spirals into paralysis. The second experiments, adapts, and discovers new paths forward. You can also harness visualization, not the kind where you just picture a pile of money, but the kind where you imagine yourself behaving as the person you want to be. Close your eyes and see yourself handling a financial challenge with calm, resourcefulness, and creativity. Picture yourself saying, "I can figure this out," and then watch the steps unfold in your mind. Visualization primes your brain to expect that identity, making it easier to act it out in real life. There's also a deeper layer to identity: community. If you spend most of your time around people who reinforce scarcity, complaining, panicking, insisting opportunities are only for the lucky, you will absorb that. If instead you spend time with people who see the world as full of possibilities, who talk about solutions instead of problems, who celebrate risk and resilience, their identity rubs off on you. You don't just learn from them, you mirror them. Seek out those conversations, whether in person, books, or online spaces. Let your nervous system soak in their sense of abundance. Over time, your actions start creating evidence. You take a chance on yourself and it works out. You handle a setback calmly and realize you survived. You try a new approach and it brings in unexpected income. Each piece of evidence is like a brick, and slowly you are building a fortress of identity. I am resourceful. I am capable. I am an opportunity magnet. At first, this fortress feels fragile. Old beliefs knock at the gates, but with each new action, the walls grow stronger. The secret is this: you don't wait until you feel like the person you want to be. You act as though you are already that person. Behavior leads identity as much as identity leads behavior. When you cast votes for "I am opportunity driven," eventually the tally is so overwhelming that there is no other conclusion. You become it. The fear that once froze you now becomes energy you know how to redirect. You discover that the world hasn't changed. It's still unpredictable, still full of setbacks, but you've changed. And that shift makes you magnetic to possibilities you once couldn't even see. When you begin to live from this new identity, subtle but powerful changes ripple through your life. Scarcity says, "I must hold on to everything tightly or I'll lose it." Abundance identity says, "I create value, so I will always have enough." Scarcity hoards knowledge, afraid of competition. Opportunity identity shares freely, knowing collaboration multiplies results. Scarcity panics at setbacks, interpreting them as confirmation of doom. Opportunity identity reframes setbacks as stepping stones, lessons on the way to mastery. Every identity shift begins as a choice, not a feeling. You may not feel abundant the first time you reframe a financial fear. You may not feel resourceful when you move a few dollars into savings. You may not feel powerful when you invest a tiny amount or reach out to a potential mentor. But feelings follow actions. When you take action aligned with a new identity, your nervous system slowly updates. The brain craves consistency, so if you consistently behave like a resourceful person, eventually it aligns your beliefs to match. One way to accelerate this shift is through identity rehearsal. Instead of telling yourself, "I'll try," say, "I am." Instead of "I want to save," say, "I am a saver." Instead of "I want to be confident with money," say, "I am confident with money." Say it, then prove it with one small action. Identity is sculpted through repetition. Each time you act in alignment with the new story, the old one crumbles further. Another practice is gratitude with precision. Scarcity identity is built on focusing on what's missing. Abundance identity is strengthened by noticing what's present. But instead of vague gratitude like "I'm grateful for my health," use precision. "I'm grateful I had the money to pay for lunch today. I'm grateful I know how to search for solutions online. I'm grateful I learned something yesterday that might open a door tomorrow." These small acknowledgements stack up. They train your brain to scan for presence, not absence. This makes opportunity easier to see. Fear itself can become a compass. Whenever you feel financial fear rising, ask, what identity is being threatened right now? If you're telling yourself, "I'm someone who always fails at money," then fear is protecting that identity. But if you choose to step into the identity of resourceful opportunity seeker, the fear becomes a signal. Here is where growth is waiting. It's not a wall, it's a doorway. Step through it with one small aligned action. Another tool is to build what psychologists call implementation intentions. Instead of vague goals, you decide in advance, "When X happens, I will do Y." For example, when I feel financial fear, I will pause and take 3 breaths, then ask, what would a resourceful person do? Or, when I'm tempted to say, I can't afford it, I will instead say, how could I afford it? These preloaded scripts bypass panic. They give your nervous system a calm pathway to follow, even when adrenaline spikes. Think also about the narratives you consume. Every movie, every article, every conversation either reinforces scarcity or opportunity. If you constantly consume stories of collapse, failure, and doom, your brain will normalize that as identity. If you consume stories of resilience, reinvention, and success against odds, your brain normalizes that instead. This doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means choosing narratives that feed your desired identity. Curate what you allow into your mental diet. Identity also deepens through contribution. Scarcity identity often isolates you. I must protect what little I have. Opportunity identity asks, how can I give value, knowing more will come? Start small. Share your skills, mentor someone, offer ideas freely. Each act of contribution reinforces the story. I am a creator of value, not just a consumer. And when you embody that story, opportunities begin to magnetize toward you because people sense it. Over time, financial fear loses its grip because your identity no longer feeds it. When you say, I am resourceful, you no longer crumble when things go wrong. When you say, I am an opportunity magnet, you automatically scan for creative solutions instead of dwelling on the problem. When you say, I am a builder of value, you carry yourself differently, make decisions differently, and attract different results. Identity is not about pretending. It's about aligning your behavior with the story you want to live. And every day, every choice, every micro-action is a vote in the election of who you are. When the votes pile high enough, the outcome becomes inevitable. You are no longer someone trying to change, you are someone who has changed. You have become the person who sees fear as fuel, money as a tool, and opportunities as magnetic fields you can step into at will.